Recording na ba siya? Ayan. Okay, so today is our last discussion for chapter 2. That means may quiz na naman, no? By the way, for your quiz, if you encountered items that yung picture hindi naglo-load, ako na bahala doon, no? I'll check your answers individually naman so I can see if may problem or may things to consider ako. So, basta yung mga ganun lang. Ako na bahala doon. Titignan ko siya by Sunday, no? So make sure that you take the quiz na on Saturday because on starting sa Monday, mag-open na naman ako ng quiz for the chapter 2 naman, no? The coverage for chapter 2 quiz is the atom structure, yung proton, neutron, electron, and then yung electron configuration na i-discuss namin today, no? Okay, so let's proceed with our discussion on electronic or electron configuration. No? So last time, we know no, that the atom is not a hard sphere. Hindi siya hard sphere. At the same time, hindi rin siya may sphere sa gitna tapos may umikot-ikot na electron. Instead, our atoms look like this. No? So may ganito siyang shapes na yung mga spherical, dumbbell, cloverleaf, and complex shapes. No? Yan, so ito yung alam na natin today. No? So ito yung mga atoms. No? Okay. So in reality, no, the shape of the atom is predicted by the location of the electrons or the wave functions, diba? So that means for this wave function, yung electrons most likely makita siya in spherical shapes. No? In this manner naman, makikita natin yung electrons, no? In dumbbell fashion, no? So, ganyan yung itsura niya. Meron din naman na cloverleaf, yung kanyang itsura, no? And yung complex shapes na kaya niya gawin. No? So, basically, what we are pertaining here, no? Ano yung nakikita natin dito is yung shapes ng ating atoms, no? Okay? And, consequently, yung shape ng electron, no? So, we can actually describe our electrons based on their shapes, no? Or based on their orbitals, no? That is given by the electron configuration, no? So, electron configuration, hindi lang siya yung 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, something, something. But, it is actually an expression, no? Describing the electrons, no? It describes what is the shape of the electron, what is the energy level of it, no? How many electrons are there in a specific shell, no? So yeah. So electron, no, it is a much broader idea. Electron configuration, it is a much broader idea that gives us, ano, that gives us an idea, no, about the behavior of electrons in an atom, no. Yung shape niya, gano'n siya kalaki, no, etc. etc. No. Okay, so that's for electronic configuration, no. And what do we know about electron configuration is that may number siya, then may letter siya, no? Okay, so puntahan natin. So I'm sure you are all familiar with this, no? Itong Christmas tree, kung tawagin nila, no? Okay, so this Christmas tree is actually a, ano lang, this is a mnemonic device for the table we have here on the left side, no? So, kwentuhan natin tong table na to, no? Okay, so, electron configuration, no? Yung first part niya is the energy level. Yung number sa harap, no? Yung 1 sa 1s2, yung 2 sa 2p, yung 3 sa 3d10, no? Yan. So, ano yung idea about this energy level? So, the idea about the energy level is kung nasaan yung atom sa periodic table, no? So, asang period siya sa periodic table. For example, we have energy level 1. That means it pertains to the atoms, no, or the elements, no, that are found in the period 1. Ano ba yung period 1 elements natin? Hydrogen and helium. Okay. So that means if we see na ang ending, yung dulong electronic configuration ay 1, yung kanyang energy level, that means it's either of the hydrogen or the helium, no? But if the energy level is 2, that means your atom can be found, no, on the second period, no? So what is the second period? The lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, chlorine, and neon. So, isa dun sa mga atoms na yun, yung pinapertain ng ating electronic configuration or electron configuration. For energy level 3, we are pertaining to period 3. So, ano yung mga period 3? Sodium, magnesium, aluminum, silicon, phosphorus, nitrogen, sulfur, chlorine, and argon. So, yan. So, hile-hilera sila. So, that means our periodic table is hindi lang pala siya designed, no? Pakita natin periodic table muna bago tayo bumalik. So, that means our periodic table is not just designed, no, to follow the periodicity. Yung diniscuss sa lecture niya, no, kung nag-discuss sa lecture. So, yun. Hindi lang pala siya based on the periodicity that this group have the same chemical reactions or chemical properties, this group has the same, so on and so forth. So, hindi lang pala ganun yung basihan niya, no. Also, yung periodic table, hindi rin pala siya nakabase on the atomic numbers. Di ba naka-arrange siya per atomic number, no? Okay. So, hindi lang pala siya limited doon, no? So, our periodic table is actually arranged in such way that the electronic configuration can be seen, no? Kaya makikita mo yung electronic configuration by just looking at the periodic table. So, the rows, ito yung pahiga, no? Yung mga rows na yan, 1 to 7 yan, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6, row 7. Sir, saan ito nakadugtong? Dito yan nakadugtong. Dito sa lanthanum and actinium. Nakadugtong yan dyan, kaso sobrang haba niyan, so nilagay na lang sa baba para tipid sa space, no? Okay, so anyway, going back, no? So the reason why we have 7 periods in the periodic table is that because possible yung 7 energy levels ng electrons, no? Okay, so ibig sabihin, pag ang ending ng electronic configuration ay 5, edi makikita mo yung atom sa group 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, isa siya sa mga yan, no? Okay. So, that means we can trace our atoms depending on the electronic configuration, or we can identify the electronic configuration by just looking at where is the atom in the periodic table. Ano pa, no? Our periodic table is also arranged in such way that you can see several blocks, no, that describe the shape of an atom, no? Meaning nun, may mga blocks for spherical shapes or the S block or the S orbitals. And ito yung mga atom na to, spherical yung itsura nila, no? Okay. And so we have S and another S, no? For P block naman, ito yung mga dumbbell shape, no? Sila yung mga dumbbell shape, no? Ayan. So, 6 sila. Yung D block, ito naman yung may itsurang clover leaf. And yung F block, ayan yung mga complex, no? So that means, no, by just looking at our periodic table, we can describe the energy level of that atom, the orbital to which it belongs, no? So yun, so marami palang idea na pwede tayong makuha sa periodic table. But that means yung aking silicon, most likely energy level 3 yan, tapos nasa p orbital yung last electron niya. Which is true, ayan, no? 3p2, diba? Ayan, so ayan. Kunwari, I have this copper, no? So for copper, most likely, nasa 4th energy level yung last electron niya, and meron siyang electron sa d orbital, no? So ayan, no? So on and so forth. Ganun din dito sa f orbitals, no? So ibig sabihin, electron configuration can actually give us an idea about the identity of our atoms, no? Recording naman, di ba? Okay. Kala ko hindi nagre-record. Okay, so yan, no? So ngayon, isa-isahin natin yung parts ng electronic configuration. Kasi bukod sa number na coefficient, it also contains letter, no? So ano yung mga letter na yun? We have the S, P, D, F, no? Sir, may G ba? Pwede naman may G. May ganun po ba ngayon? Wala pa, no? They're still trying, no, to look for much more complex wave functions, no? Mga complex na yun, eh. So, kaya muna sila magkagulo doon, no? Basta, ang focus natin ito muna ng simple, no? Yes, pero pwede magkaroon ng G orbital, pwede magkaroon ng H, no? So, yan. Okay. So, aside from the number, which corresponds to the energy level of your electron, no, we also have these sublevels, no, or the orbitals. No? So we have the s orbital, the p orbital, the d orbital, and the f orbital. No? Okay. So each orbitals correspond to different shapes, di ba? S, spherical yung shape niya. P, dumbbell yung shape niya. D, cloverleaf yung shape niya. And F, complex yung shape niya. No? Okay. So in those shapes no, na possible na magawa from those orbitals, no, pwede natin malaman yung mga subshells. No? How many subshells can be obtained from these orbitals? No? The s orbital, the p orbital, d orbital, and the f orbital. No? So looking at s, no? So s is the simplest orbital. No? It is the simplest subshell. No? And it only contains, or it is only capable of doing one shape. No? So, ibig sabihin yan lang yung version niya, no? So, isang subshell lang siya. S subshell lang siya, no? But for p orbital, it can form three distinct shapes, no? Three distinct orientation, no? So, yun. So, it could orient on the x-axis, or the y-axis, or the z-axis. Remember, 3D naman yung mundo, di ba? So, that means our electrons, no, can occupy the 3D space in such way na nasa x-axis sila, nasa y-axis sila, or nasa z-axis sila. No? So, yan. So, kada orientation, ibang orbitals yung tinutukoy natin doon. No? Okay. So, that means the p orbital, since it is capable of forming three shapes na magkakaiba, distinct in terms of the orientation in space, no? So that means it is capable of handling more electrons than the s orbital. Question, ilang electrons po ba yung pwede per shape? No? Okay, ganito. For every shape, no? For example, ito isang shape lang. For one shape, no, ang possible lang na configuration or possible lang na dami ng electron na pwede dyan ay dalawa. No? So that means s orbital can only contain 2 electrons. No? So saan sir mapupunta yung sobra? Kunwari, ang daming electrons. Okay. So yung mga sobrang electrons, they will be placed on different orbitals. No? Kunwari sa p orbital naman. So we have three distinct shapes here. No? So we have the px, py, pz. So each shape can hold 2 electrons. So, pwedeng dalawang electrons yung nandito sa px, dalawa sa py, dalawa sa pz. No? So, that means our p orbital is capable of holding 6 electrons. No? So, 2 electrons for s orbital, 6 electrons in total for p orbitals. D orbitals naman tayo. So, for d orbital, yung drawing sa dulo, yung aso, ewan ko dyan, no? Kinuha to ng gumawa ng PowerPoint sa crash course. No? Nakita ko rin to. Eh. Sabi ko, ito yun ah. Ayan, sorry. Wala yung aso ah. Ano lang yan, joke time lang yan. Okay, but anyway, so ito, no? So we have 5 distinct shapes for the d orbital naman, no? So iba-iba yung shapes daw for d orbital. So we have the dxz, no, wherein our electrons can be found in between the x and the z axis, no. Then we have the dyz, wherein your electrons can be found on the in between y and z axis. We have the dxy, where the electrons can be found between x and y, no. Dx square minus y, they are found in plane with the x and y axis. And then we have this dz square, which is yung tawag ko dyan is yung donut na may hotdog sa gitna, no? So yan yung mga shapes nila, no? Kailangan ba ito kasi kabisaduhin? Huwag niyo kabisaduhin, no? Sayang yung memory ng brain natin. Pwede mo naman tignan yung notes mo, diba? So ang point lang natin is that we have 5 shapes, no, for the d orbitals, no? So each shape can hold 2 electrons. So, in total, our d orbital can hold a total of 10 electrons. No? Sir, paano kung marami pang sobra? Okay, so marami pang sobra. So, saan mapupunta yon? Sa F orbital naman. So, our F orbital can hold 14 electrons, no? We have 7 shapes for the F orbital. Okay, so yan yung mga, ano niya, yan yung mga orientation and space niya. Yun, no? So, sir, paano kaya nila nalaman yan? Calculus, no? Ginawa namin to nung college, and nakaka-trauma siya, no? Ayoko na balik. But yun, so anyway, yan. So we have 7 shapes for the F orbital, no? So each shapes, no, can hold 2 electrons, no? So pwedeng may dalawang electron dyan, so on and so forth. So in total, our F orbital can hold 14 electrons. So again, we have 2 electrons maximum for the S orbital, 6 electron maximum for the P orbital, 10 electrons maximum for the d orbital, and 14 electrons maximum for the f orbital. No? Yun yung reason why S2 lang yung dulo, 1s2, hindi pwedeng 1s3. Pag may 1s3, mali yun ha. 1s1, 1s2, hanggang dun lang. Bakit may 2p6? Ayun. So, bakit naging 6? Kasi, itong tatlong shapes niya, capable siya of holding 2 electrons. No? Ayan. Bakit may 3D10, no? Ba't walang 3D11? Kasi hanggang 10 lang yung kaya ng d orbital because of the 5 limited shapes that it can contain. No? Bakit yung f orbital hanggang 14, no? Ayun, kasi hanggang 14 electrons lang kaya ng 7 shapes niya, no? The 7 subshells, no? So, yun yung reason why you have the S2 here, the S2, the 6, the S2, the 10, no? So, yun. Mamaya gagawin natin yan, no? So in summary, ano lang ginawa natin, no? We determined that depending on the shape of your orbitals, no, you can have different subshells, no, or the sublevels, no. For S orbital, since it is only able to create one shape, spherical lang yung shape niya, so isang subshell lang siya. When we draw the orbital diagram, it only corresponds to one box, no. Pag magdodraw tayo mamaya ng orbital diagram, isang box lang yan, wherein that box corresponds to one shape, no? Diyan sa box natin ilalagay yung electrons, no? Mamaya gagawin natin yan, no? So again, for S, isang box lang yan, no? Isang shape lang naman, no? So yan, we simplify the shapes, no, using boxes. For P orbital, since it is capable of forming 3 shapes, no? That means we can have 3 boxes, no? Yan yung tatlong shape niya. Ito yung PX, PY, PZ. Na. So, yan. Okay, so ganun din dito. Ulitin na natin. But for d orbitals, it can have 5 subshells or 5 shapes or 5 boxes. No? That's one way to think of those stuff. No? Isipin nyo na lang yung shapes as boxes. No? Or vice versa. Okay. So the d orbital can create 5 shapes, no? Kaya nga sabi ko sa inyo, don't memorize the shapes, no? Memorize mo na lang yung mga medyo important, yung mga boxes, no? Okay. And then for the f orbital, it is capable of forming 7 shapes, no? So, pag 7 shapes yon, that corresponds to 7 boxes, no? Teka lang. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 na ba yan? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 7. So each of the 7 boxes, no, they correspond to one shape for the F orbital. Ano yon? Isa dito, isa doon, isa doon, isa doon, isa doon, isa doon, and so on and so forth. No? Okay, so yan. So ano yung nalaman natin today? No? We know that for electrons, no, we can describe the energy level or the period where it is in the periodic table. Also, no, our electrons can assume different shapes, no, depending on the orbital it occupies. No? So, pwede niya i-occupy yung S orbital, pwede niya i-occupy yung P orbital, pwede yung D orbital, pwede yung F orbital. No? And yun, so every orbital that corresponds to different number of shapes. No? So, S orbital can only form one shape, so isang box lang yung gagawin natin dyang designation. For p orbitals, it can form 3 shapes. So, gagawin natin 3 boxes lang yan. D orbital, it can form 5 shapes. So, i-represent natin yun as 5 boxes. And yung F orbital, they can form 7 shapes, or i-represent natin as 7 boxes. Take note that for every boxes or for every shapes, it can hold 2 electrons. Okay? So ito, 2 electrons, 2 electrons, 2 electrons, 2 electrons, 2 electrons, so on and so forth. No? Okay, so yan. Punta naman tayo sa next column, no? Maximum number of electrons in in subshell, no? Or sublevel. Okay. So again, no, sabi natin kanina that our shapes, no, or our boxes can only hold 2 electrons, no. So dalawa lang yung pwede. So that means for the first energy level, for the s orbital, it can only hold 2 it can only hold 2 electrons, no. So that gives us a total number of electrons for the first energy level equal to 2. So that means hanggang dalawa lang yung pwede sa first energy level. No? 1s2 lang yung pwede. Paano sir yung sobra? Okay, pag may sobra, you go to the next energy level. So our next energy level, no, it is composed of the s and the p orbitals. No? The s orbital can accommodate 2 electrons. The p orbitals can accommodate 6 electrons. Kaya yung p, ang exponent niya ay up to 6 lang. Hindi pwedeng up to 8, no? So on and so forth. Hanggang 6 lang. Because remember, tatlo lang yung shapes na kaya niya gawin, and for each shapes or for each boxes, only 2 electrons can be occupied. No? Okay, so yan. So 2, 4, 6. So the p orbital can contain 6 electrons only. But in total, for the energy level 2, it can hold 8 electrons, 2 of which is from the s orbital and 6 of which is from the p orbital. Okay? So, yun. So first energy level, dalawa lang kaya niya. For the second energy level, 8 na. Okay? So moving on to the third energy level, it can now hold the d orbital. Pwede na siya maghawak ng d orbitals. No? It is energetic enough to occupy electrons na mas marami. No? Okay, so ano meron doon? So we have additional orbital, yung d orbital, and we knew that 5 shapes yung kaya niya gawin. No? Each shape can occupy 2 electrons, giving us a maximum of 10 electrons for the d orbital. No? So the d orbital can accept 10 electrons for d orbital nga. Ulit-ulit lang na. And then yun, meron pa rin tayong p and s orbital. So all in all, for energy level 3, we have 18 electrons maximum, di ba? Okay, so 4 naman tayo. So for the fourth energy level, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, no? Tuloy-tuloy lang yan, no? So, ito na. We have the complete SPDF na, no? So, yun. So, ano yung additional sa atin? Yung F, no? Since sabi nga natin, F can create 7 shapes, no? Ay, global. Teka lang. Oops. Ayun, ang charge. Okay. So, ano yun? Nawala tuloy ako. So, F orbital can form 7 shapes, di ba? Okay. So, yung 7 shapes na yun, it can hold 2 electrons each. So, overall, for the f orbital, it can hold 14 electrons. No? But take note that you have also d, p, and s orbital. No? So, may dps orbitals tayo. So, pag inad natin lahat ng electrons na kaya i-hold ng mga orbitals na yan, that corresponds to 32 electrons maximum for the energy level 4. No? Okay. So, ganun lang, no? So, yun, keep in mind yung limits, no? So, for the s orbital, dalawa lang yung limit niya. For p orbitals, up to 6 electrons lang yung kaya niya, no? 6 electrons, distributed sila on 3 different shapes, no? For d orbitals, it can hold up to 10 electrons, 2 electrons each for 5 shapes na kaya niya gawin. And then, for f orbital, it can hold 14 electrons, evenly distributed siya sa 7 distinct shapes. No? So, yan. Ngayon, ang question natin, sir, paano yung arrangement? No? Paano yung arrangement ng energy levels? No? Okay. So, for us to do the arrangement ng ating energy levels, or meaning nun, yung proper way of writing the the orbitals, no, or the energy levels, no, or the energy subshells, no, may proper way kasi, no. So we begin first with the least energetic orbital, the s orbital, no? And the least energetic orbital for all the atoms is the 1s, no? So we always begin with 1s, no? Then that is followed by 2s, then 2p. Then yung mga sumunod, ayan na. So 3s, 3p, 4s. So paano kaya yan, no? Paano kaya yan kakabisaduhin? Ang sasabihin ko sa inyo, huwag nyo kabisaduhin yan, no? May shortcut din, no? Yung ibang tao, they are accustomed to say this as si Sally pumunta sa party, si Daddy pumunta sa DSWD, patay si Father daw. Basta mga ganun, di ko alam, nanguhula lang ako ng ano. Pero I don't like that. Disco ba? Gusto ko DSWD. Basta yan na. So, may ganong method sila ng ng pagkakabisado. Pero ako ay personally do not recommend that kasi additional space yung i-occupy niya sa brain natin, no. Mag-occupy siya ng mga words, no, na si Sally something something, no. So mas na nga better pa. Si Berna natulog sa class. Wala namang video dyan. Ayan, no. So yun, para mas madali yung ating way of memorization ng electronic orbital configuration, yung proper way of writing them, yung sequence nila, ganito na lang, no. Yung susundin natin yung Christmas tree method, no. Okay, so paano ginagawa yung Christmas tree method, no? Okay, hintayin na natin siya magbukas. Pag may nakita kayong maingay, yung bayo, di ba? Ganyan talaga sila ka-energetic sa class namin, no? Okay, so gawin natin yung yung sequence ng electronic configuration, yung sequence ng orbitals, no. Okay, so paano 'yon? So gawin natin yung Christmas tree method. So imagine nyo may grid dito. So naglalagay na lang ako ng grid. So ba siya ilalagay? Ayan, may grid na tayo. Okay. So kunwari, ito yung 1s ko, di ba? Remember, my first energy level is only capable of holding the s orbital na. Masyado siyang mababa yung energy. So 1s lang kaya niya. Then yung 2s ay yung second energy level, it can hold 2s and 2p orbitals na, no? Then sumunod is the third energy level, it can hold up to 3d. Fourth energy level, kaya na hanggang f, no? 4s, 4p, 4d, 4f. Yung 5, ganun din, 5p. Sir, may g ba? May ganyan ba? Pwede naman. Bakit sinabi ko pwede naman? Kasi tandaan natin, yung na-discover na atoms sa periodic table, no, hindi pa yan yung limit. Hindi porket 118 lang yung limit niya dyan, that means hanggang 118 lang. No? We are just a small speck, no, on the universe. No? We have more to discover. So, pero saka na yung 5G, hanggang 5F muna tayo. Okay, so yan. Then 6S, 6P, 6D, 6F, no? 7S, 7P, 7D, 7F, no? Pwede naman natin yan tuloy-tuloy. Then, ano yung gagawin natin? Yung Christmas tree method, no? You draw a diagonal, no? Ayan, you draw a diagonal, and ano yung una niya natamaan? 1S. So, that means the first energy level to be occupied would be the 1s, no? So 1s muna yung tatamaan niya. Then gawa tayo ng another diagonal. Ano yung natamaan niya? 2s. So after occupying the 1s orbital, the electrons will now go to the second energy level, s orbital or 2s, no? Gawa ulit tayong diagonal. And so 2p, 3s, no? So yun yung sunod-sunod na arrangement ng ating electrons. No? So, yan yung mga i-occupy nila. So, 3p, 4s, then tuloy-tuloy lang yan. Basta yan. 3d, 4p, 5s, then so on and so forth now. 4d, 5p, 6s, dot. No? So yan, so wag nyo nakabisaduhin yung si Sally pumunta sa party, something. All you have to do is to just write the energy levels and their orbitals in this manner. Gawa lang kayo ng grid, no? Then, gawa lang kayo ng diagonal, no? Para nga daw siyang Christmas tree, no? So, pag ganun-ganon daw siya, oh, yan, no? Tapos may star na lang dito, no? Kasi wala tayong Christmas ID kasi wala na tayong ABS-CBN. Ayan, Christmas tree, no? So, yun yung idea. So, yan. So, hindi nyo na kailangan magkabisado. All you have to do is to write the mnemonic na in this manner. No? Actually, yung words na yung kinopya ko lang yung sa napanood ko sa YouTube. No? Yung we are just a tiny dust no? In the universe. No? Para kunwari brainy. No? Okay, so balik tayo. No? Tagal. Ayan. Okay. So, ayan na. So, ganun lang. Ano lang yung goal natin today, no? Ang goal natin is to reason out bakit may mga SPDF. And yun nga, nasabi natin that there are SPDF because of the shapes of the electrons, no? The shapes of the electron clouds, no? As they go from low energy level to high energy level, they are creating more complex shapes, no? And ano yung mga shapes natin na yun? We have the S orbital, the spherical, the P orbital, the dumbbells, and may tatlong shapes doon. D and F orbital, blah, blah, blah. Tapos ano pa yung nalaman natin today, no? That each shapes, no, can correspond, no, to 2 electrons, no? So, ibig sabihin nun, yung kada shape ng orbitals natin, they can occupy 2 electrons maximum, no? And then we also knew that for every energy level, you can hold different electrons, different number of electrons due to the fact that iba-iba yung energy levels na, I mean, iba-iba yung orbitals na available na. So, for energy level 1, dalawa lang pwede. For energy level 2, 8 lang. For energy level 3, 18, then 32 for energy level 4, so on and so forth na. Then ano pa yung na-reach natin today? So, yan. So, we are able to deduce, no, kung paano natin makukuha yung pattern ng filling ng electrons, no? Yung sequence ng pag-fill ng electrons ng orbital. So, yan. So, ginawa natin yung Christmas tree method, no? Na no-brainer. Paano naging no-brainer? Kasi susulat ka lang sa diagonal. Yan. Meron ka na. May sagot ka na sa quiz, di ba? So, yan. Okay. So, with that, no, we will now proceed on how to write the electronic configurations of our atoms. No? Okay. So, bago tayo pumunta mismo doon, punta muna tayo sa tatlong principles in filling up the orbitals. No? Okay. So, we have 3 principles in filling up our orbitals. No? Okay. So, number 1, we have the Pauli's exclusion principle. It says that no more than two electrons can occupy a single orbital. Yan sinasabi ko kanina na for every box, 2 electron lang. Okay? Sir, bakit ganito? May PX, PY, PZ. So, ang ginawa lang dito sa part na to, no, is in-expand niya yung P orbital. Remember, yung P orbital, tatlong shape yun, di ba? So, yung isa doon, yung PX. Yung isa doon, yung PY. Yung isa doon, yung PZ. Pero, all in all, they are P orbitals pa rin naman. No? So, if you're going to expand your P orbitals, it could be PX, PY, PZ. No? But for simplicity, dito lang tayo sa P. No? Basta ang idea, ha? Hanggang 2 electron lang pwede kada orbital, kada box, kada subshell. So, yun yung idea. Keep in mind yan, ha? Next one, off-bow principle. No? Meaning ng off-bow principle is that when you are filling your electrons, no, sa kanyang electronic configuration, anong ginagawa natin, no? So when filling out electrons sa ating electronic configuration, you always start with the lowest energy level. Parang ano lang yan, pag nagfi-fill kayo ng tubig sa, let's say, baso, di ba nag-umpisa siya sa pinakababa, ang gulat kayong tubig nasa taas agad, no? mula taas pababa. Walang ganun, no? Magic yan. Nangyayari, when we put water into our baso, no? Ang nangyayari, nag-umpisa yung water level sa baba, then pataas, no? So, ganun. So, from baba, then tumataas yung water, no? So, ganun din sa electronic configuration, no? You start with the lowest energy level first, that is nearest to the nucleus, then you go outwards, no? And paano yung pagpunta outwards? Ito yung pattern na sinusunod, no? I-fill out niya muna yung 1S, then 2S, then 2P, 3S, something, something, so on and so forth. So, sunod-sunod yan, no? Okay. And then the last one, pag gagawin natin tong atomic orbital diagram pala, no? Ito yung orbital diagram. So, for orbital diagrams, you have to keep in mind the Hund's rule, no? So, ano sinasabi ni Hund's rule, no? When we are filling out electrons sa ating orbital diagrams, no? It is better if we place electrons muna kada box, no? Tigi isang electrons muna kada box for the same orbital. So meaning nun, kunwari ito ang P. Di ba isang orbital yan, di ba? If I am going to fill the P orbital with 2 electrons, hindi pwede yung ganyan, tapos ganyan. Bakit hindi pwede yan? Sabi ni Hans Rule ba, wag ganyan, no? Pangit yan, bad yan. Ang reason kasi is more on the repulsive forces ng electrons. No? Pero baka magulat pa kayo. Simplehan na lang natin. Basta bawal yung ganito, no? Ang reason is because of the Coulombic forces, something, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so when we fill the electrons per shape, no, or per subshells, kailangan isa-isa muna, no? Isa-isa muna. Then, kapag kompleto na yung lahat ng subshells natin ng tigi-isang electrons, dun lang tayo pwede mag-pairing. So, we will pair starting from the left again, no? So, we start from the left, then, pag mag-pair na tayo, start uli sa left, no? So, ganun. So, hindi pwede yung ganito, ha? Sir, pwede ganyan. Hindi pwede. X yun. Ano yung pwede? Ganito lang. Taas, taas, taas. Left to right muna is isa. Then, if kompleto na sila, you can now start pairing them. No? By the way, kung may napapansin kayo, sir, ganyan din po ba yung concept na ginagamit sa ionization energy? Yes po. Actually, magkakadugtong sila. Ionization energy, yung mga tawag dun sa isa. Electron affinity. No? So, yan. May mga equations for that. No? But yan. So, simplihan lang natin yung approach natin. Basta yun. So, yan. So, ganun lang. Ano pa yung napapansin natin? As you can see, when we fill the orbitals, no, with electrons, kailangan may opposite arrows, no. Meaning ng opposite arrows is opposite charges, no. Kasi hindi naman kasi to covered ng textbook natin, pero sige, share ko na lang, no. The reason why we have two different directions for electron is because of the magnetic spin. Ayan na naman. Ate Cho na talaga tong PowerPoint today. Anyway, dito tayo. Dito na lang. Ayaw na niya magklase. Okay, so anyway, balik tayo dito. Hindi ko kasi ni-restart tong iPad eh. And so anyway. Okay. So when filling out orbitals, no, mapapansin nyo, we have one arrow pataas and one arrow pababa. Wala kayong makikita na parehas na pataas na arrow, wala rin parehas pababa, no. The reason why is because of the magnetic spin quantum number for the MS, no. Ano ba yung magnetic spin quantum numbers? It tells us that the electron can only have a spin of positive 1/2 or negative 1/2. Yung positive 1/2, that corresponds to one arrow pataas, and yung negative 1/2, that corresponds to a one arrow pababa, no? So, yan. Kasi if parehas silang pataas, parehas magiging positive yung kanilang magnetic spin, no? And they will repel. If parehas man silang pababa, ganun din, parehas negative, they will repel down. No? So, it is best if yung isa pataas, yung isa pababa. No? So, ganun daw yung idea dyan. Ay, may ganun. Okay. So, yan. I think we're okay na with that, no? So, ano lang yung mga kailangan natin i-keep in mind? Ano yung unang rule? Police, exclusion, principle. Summarize natin. Sabi ni Police exclusion principle, we have 2 electrons per orbital shape, no? Or, ano pa isang tawag nun? Subshell. Okay, so 2 electrons kada box. Yun yung yun yung idea. Ano pa? Actually, itong magnetic spin quantum number, the reason why bakit taas baba yan, no, is because of Pauli's exclusion principle, no. When filling out electron, taas baba lang. Bawal taas-taas or baba-baba. No? Ayan na. Okay, so ayan. Yan yung mas mabilis tandaan, no, technique, no. Okay, so ikalawa, off-bow principle. In German kasi, no, meaning ng off-bow is building up, no. So saan ka ba nag-start ng building? Sa 10th floor? Siyempre hindi sa 10th floor, 'di ba? You begin with the first floor. So ganun din daw yung electrons, no. So they begin filling out the orbitals from the 1s muna, going to 2s, going to 2p, so on and so forth. Okay? Di ba nagkasundo agad kayo sa bio pati ano? Ang gagawin ng bio kasi magre-recruit lang yan para sa Tom Hunt. Okay, so ikatlong principle na kailangan natin isipin is the Hunt's rule. So ano yung kwento ni Hunt's rule? Fill the subshells with single electron first, no? Before pairing, no? Para kung gusto mo makahanap ng partner mo, mag-antay ka na may dumating sa yung electron, no? So wag atat, no? Wag atat sa pag-fill ng electrons. So paano 'yon? So kung gusto mo makahanap ng partner, wait ka lang. Pag may sumobra, dun ka na magkaka-partner, no? Sa ganun. Okay? So, yun lang. Nag-agawan na ng may jowaan na agad. Okay, so ganun ha. For Hunt's rule, anong gagawin natin? We fill out the subshells, no? Na tig-isang electron muna, single electrons muna, no? Before we pair them, no? So, usually, yung nilalagay nating electrons is the up electron, yung positive 1/2, before we start with the down electrons or the negative 1/2. So, up muna bago down, then left to right yung movement. Okay, so with that, we are almost done with our discussion, no? Kasi ito lang naman talaga di-discuss natin. Let's now proceed with some activities, no? So, activity tayo. Ano gagawin natin? Pagutom na ako. Isip tayo, lithium. Ayoko na gawin yung ginawa ko sa ibang class, no? Binigyan nila ako ng sobrang ng atom na malaki. Kaya ang tagal namin kanina. Punta na lang tayo sa mga simple example. We have lithium, we have sulfur, and fluorine, kunwari. Okay, so let's try this. Lithium, atomic number is 3. Sulfur, atomic number is 16. Fluorine, atomic number is 9. Sige, zinc. Last na yan, zinc na yan. Marami na yan. Ang dami ng electrons yan. Yung pinagawa sa akin kanina, barium eh. Diyos ko, ang tagal namin doon. Zinc, 30. Sige, yun sa quiz nyo, organism. Bahala kayo dyan. Gusto mo yan? Sige. So, ayan. So, gawin natin tong 4 na elements na to, no? Binigyan niyo ako ng idea, sige. Anyway, joke lang. Sige, so let's start with lithium, no? So, ano yung task natin? So, our task is to write the SPDF notation or the electronic configuration. So, sulat muna natin yung electronic configuration. Then, yung ikalawa ay we will draw the orbital diagram, no? Paano kaya yan? Sige. So, let's begin with lithium, no? Okay. So, kailangan alam natin yung number of electrons that this lithium atom possesses, no? Ilang kayang lithium atoms meron siya? Again, no? Ay, okay lang. Sir, ano po file name ng PPT sa Canvas? Check nyo na sa modules, chapter 2 lab. Andun yung mga PowerPoints. No? Basta naka-upload na yung lahat. No? So anyway, let's proceed with this one. So lithium, question. Ilang electrons meron siya? Okay, so paano natin malalaman yung electron? Look at the charge. Di ba walang number na nakalagay dito sa top right? So ibig sabihin nun, 0 yung charge. When we say 0 yung charge, the protons and the electrons are the same, no? So pag wala nakalagay doon na charge, 0 yung charge, that means kung ano yung dami ng proton, yun yung dami ng electron. We have 3 protons here. So, we have 3 electrons for lithium as well, no? So, yung 3 electrons na yan, I am going to distribute them sa energy levels, no? Sige. Mamaya, may nagpaplano na ng pag-aasawa sa group chat, ha? Wag muna ganun. Gawin ko muna yung yung Christmas tree. Pasko na naman. Okay, tuli ng araw. Okay. So, yan. So, again, paano yung arrangement, no? Paano yung sequence? I start with 1s, then 2s, then 2p, then 3s, so on and so forth, no? Okay lang kahit di mo kabisado to, no? Ayun. So, okay lang yan. Tapos kung nagdaan, pila ba? Ano yan? Hindi ko alam lyrics eh. Sige, start tayo. 1s, no? 1s muna tayo. 1s. Ilang electrons uli kaya ng 1s? Dalawa, di ba? Kasi remember, isang shape lang yan. So, dalawa yung kaya niya i-occupy. So, 1s2. So, kung itatrack natin yung electron count, so we have 3 electrons muna, then ginamit natin yung dalawa to fill the 1s2, di ba? Okay. So, may sumobra pang isa. Saan natin lalagay yung sobra? Sa 2s, no? So, lagay natin yung sobra sa 2s. 2s1. Okay. So, yan. Tapos na tayo. Uwian na. The joke lang. Okay. So, tingnan natin, no? The end electron can be found in the 2s1, no? Nasa 2s1 yung isang electron na yan. Ano naman ngayon, no? So, ganito, no? If we check the last electron, we can actually identify kung nasan siya sa periodic table. We can actually locate the atom based on the last electron sa electronic configuration niya. So, look. Our energy level is 2. So, ibig sabihin niya nasa second period siya, no? Ano pa? The orbital is the S, no? So, dapat makita natin yan sa S block. And yung 1, meaning yan, nasa first column yan, no? Tignan natin kung nasa first column. Second period, S block, first column. Buksan natin yung periodic table. Okay, so hanapin natin yung S block. Ayan sila. The reason why dalawa lang yung columns for the S block is because dalawa lang yung electrons na kaya ng S orbital, di ba? S1, S2. Sir, ano nangyari kay helium? Originally, andito talaga si helium. Andito yun sa taas ni beryllium. But, since it behaves like a noble gas, doon na lang siya nilagay sa hilera ng noble gases. No? And so, the reason why we have 2 columns for the S block is because dalawang electrons yung kaya ni, yung dalawang electrons yung kaya ni S block, ni S orbital. So, ito yung S1, ito yung isang electron, ito yung kalawang electrons. Sa P block, kaya 6 yan, kasi 6 yung kaya ng P orbital. Ito yung 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, 6 yung kayang electrons ni P orbital. So, it is capable of forming 6 blocks, no? Or 6 columns, no? Or families. Yung d orbitals naman, it can hold up to 10 electrons. That's why we have 10 columns here, no? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, 10. Okay. So, yan. So, kunwari, D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, up to D10. No? So, yan. So, ganun. Ayoko na. Gutom na ako. And lastly, yung F orbital, no? So, yung F orbital natin, it can contain up to 14 electrons. That's why it has 14 columns. No? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So, yan. So, may 14 columns tayo. So, yun yung reason. So, tignan natin. Is lithium on the second period, S block, and the first column. Ito yung first period, ito yung second period. Uy, nasa second period siya. Nasa first column siya ng S block. So, tama nga, no? Wow. So, ganun. Amazing. So, ano mapapansin natin, no? Ba't ko sinara yung periodic table? Gagamitin ko pa ito mamaya. So, ano mapapansin natin, no? That the periodic table is not just arranged, no? On periodicity and atomic mass or atomic number. Kasi yun yung goal ni, diba? Goal ni Dimitri. He arranged the elements in the periodic table depending on their chemical reactivities, their similarities in the group of, in the term of families. No? So, itong family na to, itong column na to, pare-pare sila ng properties with the other sa baba. No? So, ano ng point dito? Nung ginawa ni Dimitri itong periodic table, nung inarrange niya yung periodic table na ganito, hindi niya na-observe na inarrange din pala niya yung periodic table in terms of the orbitals, no, or the blocks, no. Na kapag andito yung elements sa periodic table, first energy level yan, ito second energy level, third energy level, so on so forth, seventh energy level, no. Tapos andito yung mga S orbitals, andito yung mga P orbitals, andito yung D orbitals, andito yung F orbitals. Medyo weird, no? Siguro kung may magtataka sa inyo, sir, ano nangyari dito sa baba? Ba't nandyan sila? Originally, nakadugtong yan dito sa lanthanum and actinium, no? Nakadugtong yan dito. Kaso, ano mangyari sa periodic table? Pag nakadugtong yan, masyadong mahaba, no? Pangit yun, kasi ang haba-haba, no? Sayang yung space. Pinagkasya na lang, pinutol na lang, nilagay na lang sa baba, no? Okay, so yun lang. So tama yung gawa natin for lithium, no? Nasa second period, nasa S block, and nasa first column, no? So yan. So yun yung idea na pwede natin makuha from our electronic configuration. Proceed tayo. Dami kong sinabi. Isang item lang. 16S. Sulfur, 16. Since wala yung charge, we have 16 electrons. Okay? So we are going to distribute the 16 electrons, no, accordingly. So gawa tayo ng electron count dito. So we will start with 1s muna. 1s, 2, yung kaya niya. So 16 minus 2, 14. Tama naman, no? Then 2s2, nagamit ko na naman yung dalawa. 12 na lang. 2p6, nagamit ko yung 6. 6 pa. And 3s2 minus 2 yan. 6 minus 2, 4. Then 3p4. Ayun, nagamit ko na lahat, no? Okay, so yan. Ayan, so burahin ko na tong electron count. So our electronic configuration for sulfur is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p4, no? Look at the last configuration. So we should find sulfur in the third period, p block, and the fourth column, no? Tignan natin kung ano siya. Third period, p block, fourth column. Ay, ba't yan? Hindi yan. Ayoko na ng PowerPoint. Nagloloko siya. Ayan. So, tingin tayo. Ito yung P block. Ay, D block yung hinighlight ko. Okay. So, ito yung D block. Ay, P block pala. Sabi natin nasa fourth column yung nasa fourth column yung sulfur. Ayun siya, oh. Nasa third ano ba siya? Third period. Yes, no. So this is the first period, second period, third period, no. Ayun, andun siya, no. Okay, so yun lang. Okay. Sir, paano naman yung orbital diagram? Okay, so paano naman yung orbital diagram? Ganito lang yan. Once you have your electronic configuration, you can start working with the electronic diagram, no. Dobrohin ko muna ito. So, paano natin gagawin yung orbital diagram? So, to create orbital diagrams, all we have to do is to use the boxes na ginamit natin kanina. Okay? So, for 1s, isang box lang yan. Yung 2s, isang box lang din yan. No? Then, ano gagawin natin? Maglalagay na tayo ng electrons, diba? So, for 1s, sabi doon, we have 2 electrons. No? So, ilalagay natin yung 2 electrons sa 1s. So, again, keep in mind the Hund's rule, the Aufbau principle, and the Pauli's exclusion principle. No? So, when placing electrons in the box, taas muna bago baba. No? Okay. Bawal parehas nakataas and bawal parehas nakababa because of Pauli's exclusion principle. No? It violates the magnetic spin quantum number something. O, 2s naman. 2s, tignan natin, yung exponent niya ay 1. So, that means isa lang yung electron na meron din. So, up lang. No? Up lang lalagay natin. Yan. So, tapos na tayo sa orbital diagram. No? So, punta naman tayo sa baba. For sulfur, start tayo with 1s. 1s. Teka, burahin ko muna ito. Nakatulog na si Bernadette. Bigyan nyo ng chicken bucket yan. Okay, so start tayo with with 1s, isang box lang yung katumbas lang, di ba? Then sumunod yung 2s, isang box lang. Then yung 2p naman, ilang shapes uli yon? 3. So we will write it as 3 boxes, no? Ayan. Teka lang, ayusin ko yung box ko. Ang dami pala natin dito, no? Parang 40 ata na. Anyway, so yung 2p natin, 3 boxes yon, no? Corresponding to 3 shapes, no? Ito yung px, py, pz, no? So, ganun. Okay, then 3s, isang box ulit, then 3p, 3 box. Okay, so with all those boxes, we can now fill in the electrons, no? So for 1s, we have 2 electrons. So keep in mind, taas muna bago baba, no? For 2s, we have 2 electrons. So taas, baba. 2p, paano ilalagay yan? So, pag maglalagay kayo ng electrons, according to Hund's rule, taas muna, up, bago bumaba. Down, down, down. Ganun ha, up muna, bago down. Bawal ipag-pair agad na. 3s, up, down, dalawang electron. And yung 3p, apat yung electrons. So, paano ilalagay yung apat na electrons? Up, up, up. Then, yung sobrang isa, down na. Ganun. Bawal yung ganito ha, bawal yung ganito. Ay, ba't ko binura yung buong block? Bawal yung ganito ha, x to x. X yan. X. Ayan, bawal yan na. So, when filling out electrons, kailangan up, 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 then down, down, down. And, so yan, so, ay, x ka, ay, nag-freeze ba yung monitor dyan? Hulo. Lalabas niya. Teka lang, stop ko yung sharing ng screen. Ay, buong mukha ko yung nakalagay sa screen niya for sure. Bulaga. And, share ko na yung second screen. Kita nyo na yung windows. Kita nyo yung outer space. Bulaga. No? Ayan, so anyway. Ayan na, nakikita nyo na. Yes po, sir. Di ba? Okay, so ayan. So again, balikan na lang natin. When we are filling out the electrons again, bawal ipag-pair agad. Bawal yung ganyan ha. Isa-isa lang, no? Darating rin yung tamang pair mo. Chillax lang. Isa-isa lang muna. Bago makipag-pair, no? Ayan. Ay, naka-freeze pa rin. Sa outer space pa rin kayo. Ayan, kita nyo na. Hindi pa rin sapat. Nag-freeze pa rin. Bumalik na doon. Saan bumalik? Sa outer space? Sige na nga. Wait lang. Bulaga, di ba? Bulaga. wait lang.
Sir, meow ka muna.
Puntahan ko yung pusa. Ayan. Sana happy na kaya na. Ayan, kita nyo na yung screen. Kita nyo yung screen. Okay. So, balikan uli natin. Again, ulit-ulit lang ako. Again, when filling out electrons, taas muna bago baba. No? Huwag na muna mag-pair, okay? Darating din yung tamang pair. Chillax lang. So, isa, then yung natitirang electron, yung pang-apat na electron for the 3p, yun yung pababa sa left na. Okay. Then, sa feeling ko, okay na kayo mag-fill ng orbital, no? Ayan, do you have questions? Kasi pag wala na, magsasagot na kayo naman. No? Ganito lang din, no? Sulat yung electron configuration, gawin niyo tong Christmas tree para mas pabilis, no? Tapos, when doing the orbital diagram, keep in mind kung ilang boxes, no? Magsasagot na lang sila dyan, Rolf. Ay, okay lang. Sige. So, keep in mind that yung s orbital, it can only form one box or one shape, no? Yung p orbital, it can form, 3 boxes because it can form 3 shapes, no? And each boxes, that corresponds to 2 electrons, no? Each, no? Okay, sige. Ito pa, isa pa palang additional. Sir, paano kapag may charge? Di ba kanina I keep on insisting na Ito, wala tong charge. No? Paano kung may charge, sir? Ano mo naman? Okay, so, ano kapag may charge? Kunwari, sodium, positive, ano? Compare natin yung electronic configuration ng may charge pati walang charge. Siguro let's start with walang charge, no? So, again, pag walang electron, pag walang charge, that means the proton is equal to the electron. So, for this molecule, for this atom pala, 11 yung proton. So, that means since wala siyang charge, 11 din yung electrons. So, we have 11 electrons to distribute na. Okay. Nag-raise ng hand si John Roy. Sige. So, paano natin i-distribute yung 11 electrons? Okay, again, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. No? Ayan. Ay, sige, John Roy. Ano yun? Ano yung tanong ni John Roy? Ay, joke. Okay. Sige. Maya na lang, sir. Sige. Okay, so yan, no? So we have 11 electrons to distribute. Ito yung naging electronic configuration niya. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. Okay? Paano naman kapag may charge, no? Remember, ang equation, charge equals proton minus electron. So kapag positive yung charge, ano mangyayari? Kulang ng electron, no? So, gano'ng karaming kulang na electron, that corresponds to the number of the positive charge. Ito, positive 1, so meaning nun, may kulang na isang electron. So, kung may 11 na protons, ilan yung electrons? 10 na lang, no? Okay. Sir, paano kapag positive 2 yan? E di, kulang ng dalawang electron, e di magiging 9 yon, no? So, ganun. Or just use the equation, no? Ginawa naman natin yung last time, no? Okay, so if I'm going to distribute the electrons, no? Itong 10 electrons ng sodium plus, ano yan? Magiging 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. Mapansin nyo, missing na yung 3s1, no? Saan napunta yung electron, sir? Ano? Saan napunta? So, yung electron, most likely, napupunta yan sa atom na non-metals, no? So, yung mga non-metals, sila yung mga tumatanggap ng electrons ng metals. Paano naman, sir, kapag ano, mga negative charge? Sige, oxygen. Okay, so yan. So, for oxygen 8, ito nasa left, no? We have 8 electrons to distribute kasi walang charge, no? Same yung proton and electron. So, the electron configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 4. 2, 4, 8 na. So, ayan, 2p4. Pero, kapag may negative charge, meaning nun, may sobrang electron. Gano'ng karami yung sobrang electron? Corresponds yun sa number sa exponent. So, 2. May dalawang sobrang electron, no? Kaya ang charge ay negative 2. So, ilang electrons meron tayo? 10 electron, no? So, yung 10 electron, didistribute na natin, no? So, 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 6, no? Ayan, so 2, 4, 10, no? So, ayan. So, na-distribute na natin. So, ano nangyari, no? So, sinend mo na ba? Tanong si John Rolf. Pag online class daw ba naki-sit in? Sit in pa rin daw ba yung ano? Tawag. Aba, malay ko dyan. Okay, so anyway. So yun, so ano nangyari? Yung 2 electrons, ano nangyari? It caused changes sa p orbital na. So nadagdagan yung electrons sa p orbital. From 4 naging 6 na. Okay. So with that na, siguro we can summarize our lesson for today. We know that yung ating yung ating electron configuration, they're just not numbers, but they describe the shape of the atoms, no? So it can also help us to determine kung nasaan yung element sa periodic table, no? So ganun yung idea. Ayun, so we can write our electron configuration following this Christmas tree diagram, no? Wherein makikita natin yung sequence of filling out yung sequence ng pag-fill out ng orbitals, no? So we start with 1s, then 2s, then 2p, 3s, 3p, 3p, 4s, so on and so forth, no? So yun yung idea, no? Then remember when doing orbital diagrams, no? Alamin mo lang kung ilang shapes yung kaya niyang gawin, no? And each shape it corresponds to one box, no? So yung s orbital, isang shape lang kaya niya, so isang box lang. Yung p orbital, tatlong shapes kaya niya gawin, so 3 boxes. So yung d orbital, 5 shapes yung kaya niya gawin, so 5 boxes. Then yung f orbital, 7 shapes yung kaya niya gawin, so 7 boxes, no? Each box, no, it can contain 2 electrons. And then when filling out electrons, always keep in mind these 3 rules, the Pauli's exclusion, the off-bow, and the Hund's rule, no? Pauli's exclusion, sabi niya, 2 electrons lang per orbital, no? Per orbital or subshell, no? And when you fill the electrons, kailangan may up and down, no? Hindi pwede yung up, up, or down, down because it violates the quantum numbers, no? Number 2, off-bow principle, you start with the lowest energy first, no? So you begin with 1s, then 2s, and so on and so forth, no? Number 3, you have your Hund's rule. So ano meron sa Hund's rule natin? When filling the subshells, no, or the orbital diagram, you fill the boxes, no, with single electrons first, no. Isa-isa muna before you start pairing, no. Isang pataas, pataas, pataas bago yung pababa, 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 no. So yan. So yan lang yung lesson natin for today, no. You can take a screenshot of this answer, no. Screenshot nyo na lang. Tapos ayun, magsasagot na kayo, no. Bigyan ko kayo ng 3 atoms na sasagutan natin. Medtech lang malakad. Kasi naglalakad pala yung medtech, no. Ayan, tuloy. Ulit-ulit na yan. Okay. Sige, mabibigyan ko kayo ng bibigyan ko kayo ng 5 atoms, no? Katayon sa nanayon, sa kayo na bahala maglagay ng kayo na bahala maggawa ng orbital diagram pati electron configuration, no? Okay. So, yan. So, for now, electron configuration lang muna yung kaya natin gawin kasi recite tayo mamaya, no? So, kayo na bahala sa hindi ko sinagutan, no? Para naman, kayo naman ay ma-practice, no? So, yan. 1, 2, ano pa? 7, ayan na. So, I want you to answer the 5, gawa kayo ng electron configuration. Tapos, maglagay din kayo ng orbital diagram, no? Pero for now, sagutan nyo muna yung electron configuration. Ang orbital diagram, practice nyo na sa bahay, no? So, yan. So, sige, I'll give you 10 minutes to answer this, no? So, mamaya magre-recite kayo na kung kung ano yung sagot, no? I-recite niya yung electron configuration. Sige, you can chat, no? Usap-usap kayo dyan. Asan yung control dito? Wala. Ayun, nawala. Magtatago muna ako. Babay na matulog muna kayo. Wala kayong klase ngayon eh. Hindi ko alam ba't ganyan tawag nila sa akin, pero sige. Na-confuse siguro yung mga medtech na. Ano kaya yung ganun? Babay po, bayo. Ay, namatay yung ano. Hindi pa ako maalis, miss ko ng medtech. Naghahanap ka lang ng ano eh. Bye-bye po. Ayan, si John Rolf, umaaura yan. Gagawin kayo ng kanta niya ni John Rolf.
Sample naman dyan.
John Rolf, sample daw habang nagsasagot sila. Bumaba yung pusa eh. Meow, meow.
Ano, sir?
Meow, meow. Kumanta ka na.
Bakit yun?
Grabe, daddy.
Dalawa pa yun.
Ayun, ba't?
Ako kayo.
Umalis na yung pusa eh.
Akin, Daddy Jim.
Ayan,
Tatangit.
kita na.
Gutom na yung pusa. Bumaba na. Ako na pa sa akin.
Ano bang gusto nyo kanta? Gusto nyo ba yung Pampasko?
Ikaw, bahala. Oh.
Whenever I see girls and boys dancing on the street,
Medtech section 23.
Lab Chap on the major as he sleeps. Whenever I see people giving gifts, exchanging cards, I believe that Christmas is truly in my heart. Pinapakanta ko ni Sir eh.
Tawad.
Wala! Sir! Sir Ming. Wala, pinapayusan nila ako. Inyo ba ako, love? Bye-bye. Magsagot na kayo. Tulong ako kayo. Ang sagot sa number 1 is...
Sir, Among Us, dali.
Ano, sir? 7 minute mo ako.
Sir, ay, Jake,
Sa gabi na, no?
ka na lang.
Tutulog ako mamayang hapon eh.
Among Us, dali.
Ha?
Sir, pakik na po si John Rod.
Bet mga eh.
Ay, second demotion. Pakik na po si John Ron.
Ay, magsagot kayo ah.
Sir, kanta ka
Sir,
nga.
may request po si Ara.
Ano
Sir, hindi po
request?
totoo yun.
Ay,
Sir,
hindi.
si Sophie po talaga yun.
Ha?
Sir, kakanta daw po si Sophia.
Ano?
Kakanta daw po si Sophia.
Ay, sige, o dali, Sophia. Pag hindi kumanta, bagsak. Dadya.
Sir,
Ito na po,
nasayaw
ito na.
daw po si Jerome.
Ay,
Sabi po kasi, sir, sabi ni Sophia, medyo may flat daw po kasi si Kuya Janros. Tapos po
Okay.
correct po po si Sophia yun.
Sige,
Roll up
Sophia.
daw po
Dali.
sila.
Sir. Wait
Daw
flat.
Listen daw, sir. Listen yung kakantahin niyo. Yung kay BTV.
O, dali. Pag di kumanta, sasagutan tong lahat. No? Ay, duet na lang, di ba? John Roll. Ay,
Do it now.
ano ba yung mga kantang may duet?
It really hurts.
O, 5 minutes na nakalipas, ha? Sasagot na tayo mamaya.
Sir, magsagot na po tayo ngayon.
O, sige na nga. Tapusin na natin.
Opo, sir.
Gutom na rin ako, eh.
Ako din po, sir.
Okay, so,
Kami din po, sir.
recitation. Wait lang. Sino gusto magsagot? Number 1.
Si Jerome daw po.
O, sige, si Jerome. O, nawala na si Jerome.
Sir, si Jerome po, nag-volunteer.
Opo, volunteer daw po si
O,
Jerome.
dali, Jerome.
Sir, nagkatukoy sa connection namin bigla. Sir, naghahaka.
Ay, hindi.
Dad, alis na kami. Bye-bye.
Ay,
Bye-bye.
sige, bye-bye.
Bye, Dad.
Bye po.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye po.
Bye-bye, MedTech Peeps.
Bye-bye po.
Malay po,
Bye.
Bye po.
Ano yung mag-sit-in uli kayo next time, di ba?
Tama. Sana masarap ulam niyo mamaya. Love you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ay, pa-fall, may love you.
Mamaya kayong umalis eh. Bye-bye, Bayo. Sige, yung number 1, sino gusto mag-recite?
Buti ko na i-on yung cam. Ay, yung ano? Yung i-unmute yung mic. Kaloka ka. Isa pa. Ano?
Naka-unmute ka po.
Number 1. Si Justin. Sige, Justin. 1S.
1S2, 2S2, 2P5 po.
Okay, so 2P5 na. Ayan. Okay, tama yan. No? Okay, number 2, zinc. Number 2. Si Justin ulit, no? Sabi naman.
1,
Sige.
1S2, 2S2, 2P6, 3S2, 3P6, 4S2, 3D10.
Okay, so 3D10, no? Ayan. Okay, so thank you. Number 3, Emmanuel.
1S2,
2,
2S2, 2P6.
2P6, no? Originally, dapat ano lang siya, no? 2P3.
4. Ay, char.
Kaso since may tatlong extra
Ay, 3
electron,
dapat.
magiging 6 na siya, no? Okay, so thank you, Emmanuel. Sino pa? Number 4, Al Hussein.
1S2,
1S2.
2P6, 3S2, 3P6, 4S2.
Ano yan?
3P6,
3P6,
4S2.
4s. 0 na yung 4s, no? Or wala na siyang 4s, no? So, dapat may 18 electrons lang tayong distribute because of the positive charge, no? Kulang siya ng isang electron. So, 18 electrons. Bilangin natin, 2, 4, 10, 12, 18. Ayan, so okay na tayo dyan, no? Okay, and last one. Kakain na tayo. Last one. Joshua, Isaac.
1s2, 2s2, 2p6.
Lapit mo yung mic mo.
1s2, 2s2, 2p6.
Ayun, so hanggang 2p6 lang kasi originally, ano yan 3s, may ano pa yan, 3s2, 3p1, no? But yun nga, kulang kasi siya ng 3 electron, kaya siya may positive 3 na charge. So hanggang ganyan lang, no? Okay. By the way, tignan nyo ha. Itong number 3, itong nitrogen, negative 3, at yung aluminum, positive 3. Ano mababasin nyo sa kanila? Different atoms sila but they have the same electron configuration. We call that the isoelectronic, no? Ay, puro pawis na kasi itong screen. Isoelectronic. Ano meron kapag isoelectronic? Same electron configuration but different ions, no? So, yan. So, sa chemical bonding ninyo, malalaman natin yung isoelectronics in depth, no? Kasi yun yung reason bakit may napo-form na ions but may napo-form na bonds, no? Okay, so with that, I think okay na tayo, no? So, do you have any questions? Or gutom na rin kayo? Nag-notif na yung Lazada.
Sir,
Yes po.
pag positive po, minus?
Pag positive, babawasan mo na lang tong number dito sa baba. Ano, positive 3 yan. I-minus mo na lang yung 3 dito sa 13, makukuha mo yung electrons. No? Pag negative naman yan, yung 3 na yan, ipa-plus mo dito sa 7 para makuha mo yung electrons. Or kung gusto mo, gamitin mo yung equation na ginamit natin last time, yung charge equals proton plus electron. So, try natin yung sa number 3. Yung charge ay negative 3, ang proton ay 7, ang electron ay, hindi natin alam, no? Sir, kahit po ba may charge, mag-orbital diagram pa rin po ba? Kapag ni-require lang, no? Pag sinabi ko sa inyo na gawan niyo doon ng orbital diagram, doon kayo gagawa ng boxes, no? Okay? So, ganun lang. Okay po. Ayan, so balikan natin to. No? So, lipat natin yung 7 sa kabila. Negative 3, negative 7. Minus pala to, sorry. And proton minus electron. Negative electron, negative 10 equals negative electron. Or, electron is 10. No? So, yun yung shortcut. No? I mean, yun yung long cut pala. Yung shortcut is, pag negative yan, i-add mo na lang yung 7 dun sa number doon. You get the electrons. Kapag positive yan, ibawas mo yung dito sa number sa baba, you get the electrons. No? And if the electron configurations are the same, you have an isoelectronic species. Iso meaning same, electronic, and yung electronic configuration. Same electronic configuration. Ayan, so do you have any more questions? Or okay na tayo?
Hindi ko nga alam.
May questions pa ba?
Sir, yung last time po ba na meeting, yung recording po doon, na-post niyo na po ba?
Apo, nasa ano na siya, nasa YouTube. And
Okay.
YouTube videos, yung YouTube ano natin, playlist, ina-update ko siya every evening, no? So most likely yung video ng class natin, makikita niyo siya mamayang gabi, no? So yun. So always update niyo para pwede kayong mag-review, no? Habang nagku-quiz, no? May nagtanong sa akin, okay lang po ba sir index card? Okay lang, no? Sir, asan po yung recorded meeting on Tuesday? Nasa YouTube po, no? Dito, YouTube. Punta lang kayo dito sa JChemie. Dito sa playlist natin, no? So, andito yung meeting nyo, no? MT23. Ayan, no? MT23 Lab Chapter 2 Day 1. So, yun. Ayan. Kung gusto nyo manood din ng ibang classes, okay lang, no? Ayan, no? Andyan naman lahat ng classes, eh. So, yan. Kung gusto nyo makisit in, ayan, kagad nyo kayo makisit in na. Ayan, pwede nyo panood dyan, no? Ay, gusto nyo mag-advanced study ng bio, ano pala, organic chemistry. Yan, may organic chemistry na akong videos dyan, no? Sir, anong questions, lessons kasali sa... Yung quiz ngayon na naka-post sa Canvas, yun ay, ang coverage niya ay Chapter 1, Measurements, Energy, tapos yung lessons sa measurements lang. Tapos kapag pala may picture, kapag may hindi nag-load na picture, ako na bahala doon, ha. Titignan ko yung answers nyo individually, eh. No? So, yan. So, makikita ko doon kung, wala doon picture. Ako na bahala doon mag-consider. So, yan. Ano pa ba? Sa Sunday, yun nga, titignan ko yung results ng quizzes niya. No? By the way, mag-take na ko ng quiz, no? Kasi mag-due siya bukas ng 11:59 PM, no? Then, mag-open ako ng another quiz para sa Chapter 2 naman, no? So, ganun. Yun lang. Yan. Sige. Any questions po? Feeling ko wala nang questions, no? Okay na po.
Wala na po, sir.
Alam nyo na gagawin. So, yun. So, end po na yung recording. And so,
Yes,
thank you very much, no? Sir, ano meron dun sa meow? Ang meow-meow kasi, tuwing klase namin,